Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to Open Door. This is Finding Truth Everywhere. And I'm so glad to have you all here and to share this podcast with you. It was, it, at first I was kind of resident about, bringing this out, but I thought it had a lot of interest, very different way of looking at non-duality and just a different perspective from the Tibetan Buddhist understanding. And it and I know as Cindy mentions, he does use a lot of new words maybe. And so it gives us a whole nother kind of take on how to delve deeper into, what we truly are. And so it was Andrew Holacek. And I just wanted to start off. I actually got three of his books. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And then when I saw this podcast come up, I kind of dug up my books and wanted to check on them again. And the first one is called Dreams of Light, and it's the profound daytime practice of lucid dreaming. And this one I would actually really recommend. He has great depth in he's great, very good writer, and he has great depth in his descriptions and discussions, and he brings in a lot of other people into his writings, which is makes it kind of very interesting and in depth. And he also has. Then I had doubled on called Dream Yoga. Now that's like illuminating your life through lucid dreaming and the Tibetan yogas of sleep. That's you is pretty advanced. I'd say that's pretty advanced. But if anybody who's really interested in exploring dreams and lucidity and dreams, which the first book, Dreams of Light, is actually because that's the daytime practice. So it's kind of the practicing during their waking hours of gaining more lucidity or more. He also calls it illusory form, seeing form as less concrete and solid and beginning to see it as more open and fluid, which will therefore lead into you better experience of so more lucidity when you dream. So it's a whole different approach, and it was I thought it was pretty interesting. And he starts out with the different Barda yogas, which is first the first one was dying, and then he goes into the luminous Bardo, which is the in between stage, which is the most open. It's kind of the non-dual presence. And then finally, the we get pulled into the bardo of becoming or taking form again. That habit of seeing thing in form, which we are from the moment we're born. We have that habit of seeing things in form. And this process goes through. He says every moment, and especially every night, we experience this. So we have lots of times to really reflect and practice and kind of step back and see how this plays out. It was funny today, for example, this suddenly occurred to me. I was going to a yoga class, and so I got there, and it was canceled. So this is kind of like a mini sort of Bardo process because first of all I was disappointed and up oh no, and I thought well then I got into well maybe what's other possibilities here, so maybe I can be more open here to this what happened. And so I went out, and it was a beautiful day. So I got out and I just walked for a while. It was wonderful. So I guess, I guess he's pointing to that, we can really use some of these ideas, throughout our day. Let me see. And he went into about the dream. He started talking about the dream or sleep yoga, and he did that experiment where when you say I had a dream or I slept, then pointing back that that's the I, that's all an illusion. Who's the I? Who's the you that dreams? And then he began to talk about how awareness is really in a different levels of contraction. It's all awareness, but it's the degree of contraction. And when we get so contracted as we are now, that's when you see things in as form, as solid. But the more open we can be, then the more lucid we can be. And Amy can fill me as I'm not really good at explaining all this, but let me just see. I just want a few other highlights. But I like that, the concept, that was a whole new kind of idea for me, that the looking at awareness as different degrees of contraction or openness. It's all awareness. That's the non-dual piece. It's all awareness and the different degrees of contraction. Um, And I think May was talking about contrast. Yeah. And kind of saw that coming through. When you were talking about the more contracted you are, then the more contrast there is because you become so contracted, you become a separate self. And then everything outside, you see everything is separate from you. So that's the contrast versus the more open, where you're one with everything, and there's not the contrast. So anyway, May, I was thinking of you when I was hearing that. Oh, and of course, he talked about what brings you back in is your bad habits, or causes you to, reincarnate or come back into form is your bad habits. Although he also brought in your good habits as well. And I began to reflect about what are our bad habits, And I guess one is, seeing separation, being, that habit of thinking of yourself as a separate self. And I guess, there's a lot of another one he pointed to was the way we think. He talked about, thinking that we are we really need to change the way we think, which is a pretty profound, you know, step. And he used the word, okay, so here's where he talked about, how we approach this. Well, we're hearing things, we're hearing concepts. Then we go to from contemplating is where we digest. And Cindy, you might help with this. He talked about digesting. That's the contemplating stage. And then meditation, which is kind of where you can reach the non-dual, where you can get it, but not intellectually, not through concepts. And he used reflexive awareness. And I had to look up the word reflexive awareness. And in grammar, reflexive is when the subject and the object are the same. Like you say, I shave myself. I and myself, the subject and the object are the same. So I thought that was really cool because reflexive awareness is awareness knowing itself, and knowing itself is the object as well. So it's all the same. So I thought that was pretty cool. And since I'm rambling on here, he did go into about dream yoga, and questioning, who's the dreamer. So that's pretty cool. There's no dreamer. The dream knows itself. That's again the reflexive awareness. The dream knows itself, and that's as you get more lucid, as you get the first level. He talks about as being the witness, and then from there, even the witness dissolves, and there's just awareness. And then he went on about 95% of our habits, 95% of what we do are dictated by our habits. So that's pretty pretty eye opener in a sense, and you can see that play out throughout the day sometimes how much we do automatically, and that. But as our good habits replace those bad habits, with more love and compassion. We talked about the Buddhas, who come back, who choose to reincarnate, to choose to voluntarily come back, and um, and we can do this moment to moment, and every night we have this opportunity to reflect on this. So sorry for rambling so much, but I'll pass it on to Amy. She can pick up all the pieces.
I don't think you rambled at all.
Oh, thank you.
You picked out this was actually a great choice, and I'm looking forward to next week too. So I think Mel really pulled out a lot of very important specifics, and so I'll try and just look a little bit more at the big picture, maybe, just to complement what Mel just did so well. If I could just say what the main premise of this whole video was, it was that we are avatars in this consciousness whirlpool, and that we can use the sleeping world or the dreaming world that we all have an experience of, at least for the most part, as a way to explore the waking world. So we can use the dreaming sleep world as a way to explore the waking sleep world and thus transcend it, you know, understand what the territory is, and then move to a different territory upon the death of the body. So he said that, as Mel said, the Bardo process is happening right now. And the Bardo is kind of this in-between state. It's a state, you could almost call it objectless awareness. And it's really confusing for most of us because, I think as Mel said, most of us are really used to having objects in our consciousness. And when we don't have objects in consciousness, we don't really know what to do. So we revert back to habitual patterns that include objects as a way to ground us and give us to put our feet on solid ground. And these are the same habits that tend to hold us back because we don't let go and just stay in the liminal state and see what arises. Right. So he said when we go through a major shift in our life, like we end a marriage or we get really sick or we lose a job, those old habitual patterns are broken. And we find ourselves in this state of sort of groundlessness. And if we rush right back in and try to recreate a new pattern, like get married again or just immediately find a new job, we lose that opportunity to transcend those patterns. And so I think that was part of what he was saying. He said we have an insatiable and relentless need to make patterns, to fill the empty space. And if we're not familiar with hanging out in the liminal, groundless space of not knowing, then all our patterns, which are fundamentally egoic driven and unconscious, they come roaring back into play. And we just latch onto them. And so he said, falling asleep and dying are the same thing. When you relax into sleep, you come apart. You just come apart. You start to open and open and you open and you open, you let go and you let go until you totally open into the full, deep, dreamless state of deep sleep. And then he said, Ramana Maharshi said, what doesn't exist in the deep, dreamless state is not real, which is kind of a mind blower for most of us because we're so hooked into objective awareness. We do not understand unconditioned, non-objective awareness. So he said, even in the sleep state and in the death state, he says we whiplash back from in our collision. He called it our collision with the infinite. And we whiplash back, we contract back into a dimension that we're familiar with because we can't tolerate this infinite openness. And because there's no place there for personal identity, so we contract back. And he said, we do this in death and we do this in sleep. That's why we wake up in the morning back into this contracted sense. And we both, but there's a part of us when we wake up in the morning that just goes, shit, I really liked that open, expansive state. I really liked being able to fly. That felt so good. And that's because it is our natural state. And this isn't. And so the last thing he said, which I thought was really good, and then I'll just close out here. He said, so what is in control even in lucid dreaming? And he said, even in lucid dreaming, we are the watcher. We are the witness to the lucid dreaming. And he said, this is called Triya, the fourth state. And he said, this is a really huge boundary right here, because this is the witnessing awareness that dispassionately but compassionately allows you to watch the entire display. So we can do this in dreaming and we can do this in the waking state. And he said, this is what is so big because there's still one more step to go. And the one more step to go is because this gets super subtle, he said, because the witness still implies a subtle duality. There's a witness and there's what is witnessed. And so therefore you still are perceiving something else. And so when the mind continues to open, 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 then you dissolve back into that from which the witness arises. And I want to oh gosh, where did I put it? There's a Course in Miracles quote that I wanted to, it's a Course in Miracles, it's chapter 6, section 8, paragraph 7. It doesn't really matter. It says, we have said that the last step in the reawakening of knowledge is taken by God. This is true, but it's hard to explain in words. Words are objects, remember? It's hard to explain in words because words are symbols, and nothing that is true needs to be explained. So this last step is very similar. I find that really, really fascinating. Yeah, so that's it. The karmic whirlpool occurs in sleep and in waking. And the way to transcend it is to really get to know that territory and being lucid in either the waking dream or the sleeping dream. And that's it. We'll see what happens next week. But thank you, Mel. I don't know if I've.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I'm so grateful. You made me understand it better too. I love that.
Thank you.
And I love the quote. What did he say? It was Brian Josephson? We think clearly, but that's because we don't think clearly. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And Cindy, let's hear from you.
Yeah, first there's a lot of gratitude because I would never have listened to the podcast had you not suggested it. So I'm really grateful. A lot of it reminded me of Patricia, so I'm really hoping she shares this hour. I was giving myself permission since I had been away and on this intensive and not fully engaged yet. I had given myself permission not to listen at all, to just come without me listened. But there was a big chunk of time last night where I wasn't sleeping and I turned it on and, went to listen to the whole thing and then eased into sleep. And then I listened. So also want to voice my gratitude for the decision to do this in 2 parts. Because I don't even know if I would have listened with where I was this week to like an hour and a half or a 2-hour exchange. But because it was only 47 minutes long, it was really, really easy to listen to again this morning for me. And I had given myself permission. This is so interesting, not to take any notes, to just be familiar because I wasn't facilitating the conversation, but then I kept stopping the recording this morning and it will serve me to just speak my notes out loud. There aren't a lot of them, but they were very, very meaningful relative to my current level of consciousness. Very open and very quiet. And there's not a lot of extra here right now, there's just this. You'll have to remind me, May. I think it was the Nisargadatta Maharaj, right? Yeah, okay. So the first thing that I stopped the recording again is this idea of bad habits. And I know you mentioned it. What is it that reincarnates your bad habits? And I really appreciated how Tammy kept coming back to that and kept coming because there's a sense of duality and what's the difference between a good habit and a bad habit. And I'm getting chills all through my body. So thank you for letting me put this together, because what I heard, and I've heard it from Adyashanti and I've heard it from Uji, and I hear it in my heart, that as long as I'm thinking and Rana gave the quote, you guys gave the quote, I only think I'm thinking clearly because I'm still thinking. So as long as there's a thinking and a trying to figure it out, there's an habitual expression as someone separate, right? So the way I understood this conversation was the louder your habits are relative, this is who I am, and you're an asshole, or this is who I am, and this is how I'm a victim. He was talking about pride and jealousy, you know, the big ones. But as we continually offer those up, we take on healthier or higher vibrational habits. But as we do that, we're continually in this process of offering those habits up, and the Buddha has no habits. So I saw that through this 45-minute conversation, that it's a continual deepening into that practice. There's no, this is a good habit and this is a bad habit. It's here's what's the loudest in my space right now that subtly or otherwise identifies me as something other. So the next thing I wrote down, and I've heard you guys share it, so I'm grateful. So this is just me saying it aloud again, because I'm getting chills as I'm doing that. The gift of being in the bardo, the unknowing, is the choosing to not rush back into a new birth. And I really, the gift of being uncomfortable in the unknown, which was like, for those of us who are hanging out with Helen last night, before I listened to this, literally the 20-minute clip, the Helen Hamilton clip we listened to, right? Shannon might remember the name of it, but that was her teaching. Let's get really comfortable. Oh yeah, May was there too. And Rana was there. Let's get, it's in the unknown that a new realization is going to be born, and getting to be willing to be in the unknown. And somehow he said it differently, but that gap, the bardo, and the understanding that there's a real gift in getting really allowing yourself to be super uncomfortable and not immediately step into the new job or the new relationship, or in the case of the Buddha teaching, a brand new life, brand new reincarnation right away. There's something extraordinary in hanging out in that. He also, for me anyway, he made it feel like it's all the same. Death is happening all the time. The top level is when we drop the body. And then there is a subtler level than that, which is like these big events, the loss of a marriage or the loss of a family member or the loss of a job are all opportunities. And then there's the death that happens every time we close our eyes to sleep. And then there's the subtle death that occurs with every breath for something new. And you both, I think, spoke of this idea that it's only an idea, that I go to sleep and then wake up the next day. And his invitation to really explore that. How do I know that I slept last night? It was a different I. And another one of the Nisargadatta quotes that I really love is just this. He said that every experience has its own experiencer. So, you talked about the fact that if you look for it, you're not going to find the dreamer of the dream, because we are the dream on some level. Yeah. There is no you. And he kept saying, and I love this too, because this is my life right now. He said, don't believe me. The gift is doing your own contemplation and discovering the lack of an answer. And that's a huge part. It's a huge part. Then he said, too much information. If we choose to take in too much information, there are many of us that confuse information with experience. And I really, really, really enjoy that pointing to, which moved into the ingest, digest, metabolize the teaching. And you can't do that if you're continually searching outside of yourself for a new teaching. No finding is the best finding. There is no dreamer. And you know, he did say that 95% of what we do is dictated by these unconscious processes. But I'd like to suggest that if Richard was here, we would talk about how that is probably true for those who are not on the path that we're in. I still believe that there's a lot of more, you know, every day I'm discovering more things are coming up to my awareness that I was unaware of before. But I feel very comfortable to state that my experience of life is not 95% unconscious anymore. So I like to say things like that out loud, because I know that what we're doing is working. So that those were my notes, and thank you for letting me say them all out loud.
Thank you, Cindy. And when I was, you mentioned, just to tie it in with the Course of Miracles as well, when I was reading, I think it was the first time, either the Dreams of Light or the Dream Yoga, I was getting really anxious. And in the beginning of the book, when I was just rereading, he says, you might start to feel uncomfortable because, you know, your ego really doesn't like a lot of these concepts of elusive form, you know, all this, and it's going to might make you feel really uncomfortable. And it was really helpful to have him state that ahead of time, because as I was really, I said, oh, maybe that's what's going on. There's a lot of rebellion going on from the ego. So that was good. Thank you for mentioning that. And Amy.
One of the things that he said right at the end is, if you want a good death and a good next life, take care of this life, take care of this one. And this really tag teams on what Cindy just ended with. And so he said, live with love, kindness, compassion, and this is what will be laid out for you. And then he said, don't you see this in your dreams? He asked this. So I kind of wanted to put that out there. Like, since we've been on this path, I just want to ask folks, like, how have your dreams changed? Have you noticed that your dreams have changed? And is there something you can say about that? And Dago says, no. I know they have from myself, but I'd love to hear from other folks about your dreams. And, you know, the path could be 10 years, or it could be 5 years, but just whatever you've noticed.
You know, I don't remember my dreams. That's really it. Since my brain injury, I haven't remembered my dreams. So it's not that they change. I don't remember them. So yeah, that's more it. It's more that I just don't remember them. But now I'm gonna start to pay attention. So now I'm actually gonna start to just look, because I haven't really looked or asked or thought, okay, well, I don't remember them. Okay, I want to remember them, or I want to. So I want to start to pay attention now. I want to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to start asking, because everything is here for me. Everything is. I know that now. So, and it's so amazing to be together, all of us. It's really just amazing. I'm really just speechless. Just we are so blessed. That's how I see it. We are so blessed to know this. You know, we are so blessed. You know, and even like I'm taking medicine now. which is helping me. So I'm just so blessed. I really just am so blessed. We are so blessed. That's what I would say. We're so blessed.
Mm. Thank you, Indigo. And in his book Dream Yoga, he talks about the cycles of dreams, like 90 minutes, cycles. And you dream most likely early in the morning, right before you wake. I guess most vivid time. And I find it now, I like actually look forward to go to sleep. It's like I start to, and relax. You can't fall asleep unless that's the big thing, is the relaxing part, because you can't try to go to sleep, right? It just it's so cool because you fall asleep when you don't try, and then it just seems to happen. You can't explain it. And the same thing with waking up. It just kind of happens. So it's a pretty incredible phenomenon. It's really pointing to us every night, where our true nature is. So thank you. And now May, sorry, thank you, May. It's great to have you here.
Hi. Yeah, I really enjoyed this podcast. Um I was also kind of struck by a lot of the words that they used, and then just like the way, like how they described earthly density and spaciousness, and like this deathless and awareness. And yeah, I also wrote down reflexive awareness, and then I kind of underneath it, it's just like I wrote it just is, like, because that's all that it's all just like it's all just one thing arising in like in just reflexive awareness. But Cindy shared some quotes with me yesterday that I've been thinking about. The first one is, when you believe yourself to be a person, you see persons everywhere. In reality, there are no persons, only threads of memories and habits. And
Mm.
in the moment of realization, the person ceases, identity remains, but identity is not a person, it is inherent in reality itself. And then also, be like a salt doll in the sea of consciousness. Let yourself dissolve, which I've been thinking ever since we talked about the story of Lot. I've been thinking about that like almost every day. And like that is basically that's basically Lot. Like um yeah. So I personally, I've been experiencing a lot of this like spaciousness and like density. I can feel the spaciousness like as like a like it's a very bodily sensation right now for me. And uh, it's more like it's in that recognition of truth. It that like it just, like I was listening to someone talk about how plants talk, or like how plants like move around, and it's just like basically it's just ion channels that open and close so the energy can go up and down. And like I think when you think about consciousness as ion channels, like it's there existing all the time. Like that's what the course says. It's like the second you just recognize it, it's in the knowing, like the capital K knowing, the understanding, you're you become less cinched. Your earthly density kind of like ceases, and you're able to expand like a salt doll in the sea of consciousness. It's all just, it's so, and it's like when you like actually are like feeling it, you're like, oh my God, like it's true. And you can't, I mean, like we kind of dip in and out of it, but I think that like there's something so profound in this. And the the like the knowing that anyone, everyone has this capability, even if they're like, if even if they're locked in the vault, everyone can do that. Okay, I don't want to Rana.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you, May. Such insight. Thank you. Okay, Rana, good to see you.
Hello, Melanie. Hello, everyone. It's very good to be here. I definitely enjoyed listening to this. It was really good. And what I found as I was going through was my writing just kind of became a contemplation as I was going through. So it was a little bit of a different experience. There wasn't just listening going on. There was sort of receiving and writing, and so that was fun. I thought that I would just go through and write what came through me, even though it might be a repeat of what we said. It's not too long, but I think, to ground it home for me. So that first point, there is no dreamer. There's just awareness beginning to recognize itself as the unlimited self and how that translates. And where does the dream avatar go? It's absorbed back into the mind stream. Where does the I go when the body dies? Back into consciousness, back into awareness that it already is. And these things, I know we've talked about them over and over, but just, sometimes the way someone says something, or maybe it's the tone, I don't know. But it seems to have deepened here. Awareness is having a dream, and it's the seeming life of Rana. Just like when I go to bed, I have a dream, and it seems to be this other Rana, but I can witness all that. And so when you go back, it's really just awareness having that dream, and it ties all in with the tiny mad idea, and just seeing what it's like if everything were different, Rana isn't really anywhere to be found. And I liked that pointing very much. Where does the dream character go when the Rana character wakes up from the dream? Where does that character go? So that there was this subtle something there that was helpful to think, is there really a Rana character? So that's driving that home a little bit more. I love our discussion about contraction. Awareness contracts into a form as a body. And, I love that you guys pointed out it does that because it's familiar. And the increased contraction brings increased contrast. Life seems so much more difficult the more contracted is that state is, and that state is familiar. The reincarnation of bad habits. When you first said that, I was like, oh, right? It's like all the worst parts of me are back. But again, it's an opportunity to have that choice in the dream. Do I want to move through this dream in that way? Do I want to continue to be selfish and self-centered and move through in this way? So at some level, I seem to have a choice about that. I seem to have a choice to have a happier dream. Opportunity, exactly, the opportunity for sure. But this was also seeming very important. He said, the point isn't to not reincarnate. Like reincarnation isn't wrong. Us coming in and having these experiences as bodies, it's not wrong. It's just an experience. And we want those good habits to be rebirthed, And then at the end, two more things. I love the statement, we think clearly because we don't think clearly. And it's, occurred to me for a couple of years now. Did I think to think the thought that was just thought? And that is so helpful for me because there's something that gets released right there. Like there's no guilt about having the thought. I didn't pick to have the thought, but it has appeared. And now, once again, I have that opportunity, May, to either cling to it or allow it to go. And then the last thing that was mentioned was self-cognition. And I was curious, I may have just tuned out at that point, but I got a feeling they were referring to big S self-cognition as opposed to selfish, individualized, in the dream cognition. So if anybody caught that, feel free to add to it. But this was really fun. At first, the ego balked, it was like, oh, this is too much. I don't get it. And then what happened during this contemplation was I relaxed into the idea that I don't have to understand it. I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to listen to one section 5 times in order to write down the exact word, which I didn't do. There was a, nope, not going to do that. Just going to listen to it and see what happens. And of course, our discussion always just broadens and deepens the experience of having listened to it, So I'm grateful for the thread of memory that I have for having listened to something an hour ago that doesn't exist anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. That was great. Something you made me remember was he talked about in the dream when you wake up, you don't get all upset and moan and groan and weep because the dream avatar isn't there anymore. And it's kind of, yeah, it was kind of, wow, oh, yeah,
Yes, that was so poignant. That point. We don't like grieve the dream character every morning. Sometimes there's reverberation of energy.
Mm.
Like when you say, like, oh, this dream is really sticking with me. And maybe there's something there, but I don't want to talk about it right now. Maybe someone else does.
Yeah, I think when I have like a dream that's really memorable like that, I know that I'm like, especially like I didn't really think about that before, like whatever, like I don't know, like something crazy happened in my life, and then like I had like a full like blah, but like and then I like started getting like kind of very insightful dreams, and I don't get them all the time, like I don't really remember, but like when I have those striking dreams, I'm like, oh, this is like telling me something. This is like an insight, and then it will be revealed exactly like whatever I was like thinking about, like kind of, or like whatever the dream was telling me. It was like, oh yeah, it's like it's just a moment of recognition, or like it'll give me it won't tell me exactly what's happening, but it'll like give me enough, which is interesting because I guess it is just it's all thought, and it's all accessible to us all the time, and it does, yeah, I think because we all have this capacity, we can all strengthen it. Like yeah, I want to read Dream Yoga.
That's cool, eh? Amy.
I just put a comment in the chat room about just the juxtaposition of near-death experiences with this teaching. I think it's kind of interesting to see where they're parallel and where they diverge. One of the things about near-death experiences is that people say that the experience stays with them for the rest of their life because it's so deep and so juicy, and so real. It's more real than this world. And some of us, I think, probably have had dreams that have stayed with us for our whole lives as well, that were just so deep and so they're just so rich that they stay with you. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Sam. Thank you. Sandy. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mel and Amy. Thank you for this and for this beautiful discussion. Speak after Rana spoke, I thought, okay, I can say something, because when I was listening and I wasn't taking notes, I was just listening to this, I felt like I was a student in a basic math class and somehow had wandered into calculus.
Oh,
I had skipped algebra and trig, I went right to calculus, and that's how it felt at first, because I didn't know the background. I didn't know the Buddhist concepts or any of the words. I didn't know what the bardo was, and I was having trouble in the mind linking what they were saying to what I thought I knew. But then I just relaxed and just listened, and a couple of things that's been said here. Like what did Amy say? Amy said nothing that is true needs to be explained. I just love that, because I always have difficulty explaining the experience, the Gestalt interpretation. Yeah, the big picture helps. So then Nandego said, I am so blessed. We are so blessed. And that just resonated within me, that this feeling of gratitude that I have, this feeling of love when I'm here, the joy that just bubbles up spontaneously. And one of the things that was said in this podcast that really did resonate was this idea that being the witness dissolves. There was a time when I practiced being the witness, because I was told to do that, to watch the ego, to kind of look at, I think Eckhart Tolle calls it the lower self and the higher self, or the true self and the false self, the ego and the this, the bad habits, the good habits, all of that has gone. It's like there's only one thing. I have difficulty now. I cannot, I really don't do that anymore. I just am. It sounds so, I mean, it really does sound almost too simplistic, but I am just now enjoying being and enjoying the life that I have. I love sleeping. Sleeping's a great part of this experience. It feels good to sleep, really. And the dreams have changed, Amy. I used to have fearful dreams a lot as a child. I hardly ever have any fear anymore. And it's so different from tradition. Having been an educator and a teacher, it's not about learning, it's about realizing. And to me, there's a big difference. A realization of the truth is like a recognition. It's like a remembering. Even these words aren't adequate, but it's like I'm not learning something that I didn't know. I'm realizing. It's like self-realization. Maybe that's what the self-cognition is. I'm not sure. But I realize the truth of who I am. And it is, as May mentioned, a full body experience for me. And I know I hear other teachers saying it's not, but when I hear truth spoken, when I realize truth, there's this knowing that then brings on this beautiful full body feeling of glowing and joy and safety. I like that word, safety, like trust. all these words that are absolutely inadequate, but they come close to the experience. So overall, in listening to this, I was able to, when I stopped trying to understand it and learn it, and I just listened, I was able to get the feeling of some truths that were being spoken. And it is a feeling. It's not an equation. It's a feeling. It's a recognition. So that's my contribution to this, which I don't even know if it is a contribution.
Oh,
It
it
doesn't
is.
matter.
Oh.
It doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, I think you said it. The greatest power is so simple.
Yeah.
That's it. It's literally just it, like, and I think it's just that knowing. It's just, I was thinking about, like, okay, I heard this also where it's like a scientist is always ready to be misproven, but a pseudoscientist is not. A pseudoscientist is continually thinking that they are right, and that's the same thing happening, I think, in like mainstream science with like the Big Bang. Like people are really stuck on the idea that the Big Bang is like exactly like how the universe is like constructed or whatever. But like in actuality, it seems like it's just it really is infinite. And that is completely in congruence with all of this like thought about thought. And like just like the fabric of reality, it's the hard problem of consciousness, basically. And like I think once more people realize that, like it it will change. This is the future. It's like there's no other I think there's no other path forward. And I'm also excited to know what else this expands into, because like the possibilities seem absolutely limitless.
Well, they
Which is
are.
exactly exactly.
They are.
Um
And it's like we're in the avatar suit. Okay, so we mentioned the
yeah,
avatar suit. We're in the avatar suit.
yes.
And it has some it seemingly has some limitations in it.
Mhm.
But they really aren't there because that's not really what it is. I'm all
Yeah.
of it at the same time. It's not like I'm sometimes in the avatar suit and sometimes I'm complete awareness. I'm all of it all the time. It's an all the same thing. And when I
Yeah.
got that, it just all the structures seemingly fall apart. And all the structures, even the structures that the mind built, like the scientists, they build all kinds of structures in their mind and they try to make everything fit in nicely.
I love
But
being a
it
salt doll.
doesn't
Yeah.
have to fit in, and it's when we let it go, and the possibilities are amazing, and this is what we call miracles, I think. And we call them miracles because we think they're not really supposed to happen, and it's somehow extraordinary that this is happening when actually it's all just happening. It's not extraordinary. It's
Yeah. We're not special. It's just like
and
it
it's
just
so hard
is.
to explain. So
Yeah.
forgive me
And
for
I think our the barriers that we put up do it is like it is basically it's all the course. Oh my God, everything is in the course,
it
basically.
is.
It's just like and like yeah, no, I'm on day like 140 or whatever. And like when I was first doing it, I really like I was just like I know that I need to keep doing this, but I don't like fully understand it. But now it's like when I read it, I'm like, like it's all just like permeating. And it does feel like being the salt doll in the sea of like let yourself dissolve. And like we form again and then we dissolve again and we form and I think that's just part like we will not be thrust into the light. We will not be blinded. And I think because this is like a collaboration with source. And when you understand that, when you make it less like the ego is like something we do have to like like we grew up with like it's so there, but it's also completely an illusion. It's completely just not there. And as like as I remember that, just like I know that there are doors even right now in apparent time that are just opening. And that's been proven true. It's it's always been there. We just there is art everywhere for those with eyes to see. There are cathedrals everywhere for those with eyes to see. It's all just there. It simply is. Yeah. Rana.
Oh, well, way to go. Thank you, May. One more quick thing I want to throw in too is he really helped me with the idea of reincarnation because I always get there's only one life, and they talk about lifetimes, different lifetimes, but there's only one life, and that the idea of contraction and expanding. So it's not like different people, you're going to show up, but it's all the one, coming through in different. Yeah. Anyway, I can't say it very well either, but I think you get my point. Thank you, and okay, Rana, thank you.
Yeah, Amy put in the chat about the gestalt nature of dreaming and that it's all coming really from me. And like there's no problem for me in understanding or accepting or trusting that the dream avatar is all coming from within me. But boy, is it hard for me to now translate that to this character, that all of this is coming from within me. But there's something there that's very exciting and making the hair on my arm stand up. Like if I'm so willing to just accept that, what's wrong with this next step of it? So it's helpful.
Cool. And I think it'll be interesting part two. He dives more into the dying process, I think a bit more. And also he talks about dark meditation, dark retreats, which that's a hard one for me. I love the light. I love that light. But he talks, when you in the darkness, there's no distractions. And it's really a way to experience just total emptiness. Anyway, so I'll just throw that out. So I'm just so grateful for all the contributions today, and it's just wonderful to be together. Amy, you wanna? Yeah.
I agree. I love the enthusiasm here, and because we all dream, we all understand this at a really primal level. And just to piggyback on Rana's comment, the more we stay as the witnessing awareness, no matter what happens, the more grounded we become in our true nature. And the bardo, as Patricia said, the bardo's happening all the time. And just if you can just remember that the witness is what you are, no matter how many layers you have to go through to find yourself in that footing. And that's where we all gather, is as the witness. We're all in that same place as the witness, each one of us. So I look forward to next week.
All right. Cindy, did you?
Just that I love us, and we're hanging out again with Amy in 3 hours for Avita in A Course in Miracles.
Mm.
For anyone who can make it. And
It's going to take right off on what we're talking about right now. The unification of abilities is exactly what May was talking about. May said, everyone has this ability, even if they're locked in a vault. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about it for.
I
Right.
won't be there. But yeah, I'm excited to listen.
Oh, right.
Gonna stop the
Oh,
recording.
you'll hear yourself.